The market was alive with noise, filled with creatures from 100 worlds. The smell of smoke, sweat, and spoiled food hung heavy in the air. Traders shouted, offering strange goods, glowing crystals, alien fruits, even broken machines. But in the middle of this chaos stood one woman who had nothing to sell. Her skin was pale silver, once shining with pride, now dulled with hunger. Her eyes were sunken, her body weak. Beside her clung two small girls, their stomachs empty, their faces thin. They were her daughters, and they had not eaten in days. The alien mother had tried everything. She worked, she begged, she traded scraps. But the world was cruel and the market was worse. Nobody cared about a poor mother and her starving children. She had reached the edge of despair. There was only one thing left she could sell, her soul. She stood on the worn stones of the marketplace, her voice low, almost breaking. "Take me, take all of me. Just give food to my daughters." At first, no one noticed. The market was too loud, too busy. But then the words spread like a spark through dry grass. Heads turned, laughter followed. A group of merchants sneered. "She sells herself for scraps," one hissed. Another chuckled. "Even her soul has no value." The mother's cheeks burned with shame, but her daughters pulled at her arms, whispering, "Mama, we're hungry." Tears stung her eyes. She had no choice. Pride had already been crushed by hunger. Her voice rose louder. "My soul, my life, my freedom, take it. Only feed my children." For a moment, silence fell. Buyers paused. Sellers stopped shouting. Dozens of eyes watched her, some with pity, most with scorn. In this market, weakness was blood in the water. Predators gathered quickly. One alien stepped forward. Tall and scaled, he smirked, showing rows of sharp teeth. "A soul, is it? What use is a soul without power?" he mocked. He flicked a coin into the dirt at her feet. "Take it, woman, that's all you're worth." The crowd laughed. "Cruel and loud," the girls cried, hiding their faces against their mother's legs. She bent down, clutching them close. She wanted to scream, to curse, to fight. But hunger crushed her voice, and then silence again. A shadow moved through the crowd. Heavy footsteps echoed against the stone. The laughter faded. Heads turned to look. It was a human. He wore no crown, no uniform, only simple clothes stained from travel. His face was calm but unreadable. His eyes, dark and steady, fixed on the mother. He didn't look at her with lust, or mockery, or pity. He simply looked as if weighing her words. The crowd shifted uneasily. Humans were rare here, feared and whispered about. Nobody understood them fully. Some said they were weak. Others said they were dangerous. The merchants waited for him to laugh too. But he didn't. He stepped closer. His voice was low, deep, steady. "You said you would sell your soul. Do you mean it?" The mother froze. Her daughters stared at the tall figure with wide eyes. She could barely breathe. "Yes," she whispered, "if it feeds them, I will give everything." The human studied her face. The trembling of her hands, the hunger in the eyes of her children. He reached into his bag. The crowd leaned forward. Waiting, he pulled out not coins, not weapons, but a sealed box. Inside it was food, real food, bread, fruit, dried meat. The smell filled the air. The daughters gasped, their tiny hands reaching without thinking. The mother pulled them back, fearful. "What price?" she asked. Her voice shook. She expected cruelty. She expected chains. She expected him to own her forever. But the human only said, "Your soul, if that is what you wish to give." His tone was not mocking. Not harsh, only strange, calm and firm. The mother's knees weakened. She pressed her forehead to the dirt. "Then take it, take me. Just don't let them starve." The crowd erupted in whispers. Some laughed, others murmured. No one understood the human. Why would he pay with real food for such a broken soul? Why waste such kindness in a place like this? The human said nothing more. He placed the food in her hands. He didn't bind her, didn't touch her, didn't claim her. He only turned and walked into the shadows of the market, leaving her with the meal she begged for. The daughters tore into the food, their faces bright with joy. The mother's tears fell into the bread she held. She had sold her soul. But the buyer was unlike any she had ever imagined. In the market of shadows where cruelty ruled, a human had bought her despair, yet given her hope. The food was gone within hours. The daughters ate with shaking hands, crumbs sticking to their faces. They laughed for the first time in months, their thin bellies finally full. They clung to their mother, whispering thanks. But the alien mother did not smile. Her heart was heavy. She had made a bargain she did not understand. The human had taken nothing. He gave food but asked for nothing in return. No touch, no cruel order, no chain. Yet his words echoed in her mind. Your soul. If that is what you wish to give. She feared what that meant. Night fell over the market. The air grew cold. The mother huddled her daughters close, wondering if the human would return. She did not have to wait long. His shadow came again, tall and calm. He stood before her with a small light in his hand, a lantern that glowed softly. Come, he said simply. The mother froze. Where? She asked. Her voice trembled. She feared a trap, feared being taken into darkness. Her daughters pressed close, frightened of the tall figure. To shelter, the human answered, not here. Not in the dirt. The market was dangerous at night, thieves, slavers, and worse prowled the alleys. The mother knew it. She looked at her daughters, then at him. Suspicion and fear warred inside her. But she had already given her soul. She had no choice. She followed. The human led them through narrow streets, past broken lamps and closed stalls. The city was silent except for the sound of their footsteps. The mother kept glancing at his back, wondering when he would turn, when he would reveal his true purpose at last. They reached a small building on the edge of the district. Its walls were cracked, its roof patched with metal sheets. Inside it was simple, one table, a bed, a small stove, not wealth, not luxury. Just quiet, safe walls. Stay here tonight, the human said, setting the lantern on the table. No one will harm you. The mother stood frozen. Why? She whispered, why do this? The human looked at her daughters first. Then at her, his eyes held no lust, only a strange weight. Because you asked me to take your soul, and I did, he said. It is mine now, so I will keep it safe. Her breath caught, the words made no sense. Her soul was not a jewel, not a weapon, not something a man could guard. But the way he spoke made her chest tighten. She sat on the floor, clutching her daughters. Her mind screamed at her, he lies, all men lie. Yet his actions spoke differently. He gave food, not chains. He gave shelter, not pain. Still, fear gnawed at her. Do you want me to serve you? She asked at last, her voice sharp with bitter shame. Do you want me to bow, to wash, to crawl? The human's face did not change. He shook his head. No. Her anger rose, burning through her fear. Then what do you want from me? She demanded. Why buy me? Why call my soul yours? The human leaned back in his chair, silent for a moment. Then he said, because no one else did, because they laughed. And I don't laugh at suffering. His voice was calm, but each word was heavy. The mother's hands shook. Her daughters had fallen asleep against her sides. Safe, warm. Their breathing was soft. She wanted to cry, scream, run. Yet all she could do was sit in the strange peace of the room. The night stretched on. She could not sleep. Her eyes never left him. He never moved closer, never touched her. He only sat by the lantern, sharpening a small knife. His face unreadable. At dawn she rose. Her daughters still slept. She stepped closer to him, her voice low. Do you mean to own me forever? The human looked at her. His eyes softened for the first time. No one owns a soul, not truly. I only held it because you offered it, but you are free. You are always free. Her knees trembled. The weight she carried, the chains of shame, of fear, shook inside her, but she could not believe him fully. She had been told too many lies. Her people had suffered too many bargains that turned to poison. Then why keep me here? She whispered. He answered with only one word. Protection. The mother's heart twisted. She remembered the cruel laughter of the market, the alien who tossed a coin at her feet, the whispers of predators circling her daughters. In that place she was prey. In this broken room she was safe. But safety with a human was more frightening than danger with her own kind. The lantern flickered as morning light seeped through the cracks. The daughters stirred, smiling with full bellies for the first time in weeks. They did not know the price their mother had paid. They only knew the human's shadow had brought them food and rest. The mother watched him closely. She did not understand his contract. She did not understand his silence, but one truth echoed in her chest. This human was dangerous. Not because he threatened her, but because he didn't. And that made him the strangest buyer of all. Morning sunlight crept into the small house, warming the cracked walls. The alien mother opened her eyes, stiff from the hard floor. Her daughters stirred beside her, their soft breathing turning to small giggles as they stretched. For the first time in weeks, they looked alive. The girls ran to the table, still sticky with crumbs from last night's bread. Mama, food? One asked, hope shining in her eyes. The mother's heart twisted. She had given away her soul for that single meal. And now already hunger returned. She turned her head toward the human. He sat quietly, sharpening a blade with calm, steady strokes. His eyes lifted briefly, meeting hers. He seemed to read her thoughts. "There is more," he said simply. He pointed to a small pack near the stove. Inside were dried fruits, nuts, and strips of meat. The girls gasped with delight, tearing into the food. Their thin hands moved quickly. Stuffing their mouths, their laughter filled the room. It was a sound the mother had thought she would never hear again. Her eyes grew wet, but beneath her relief grew something darker. Fear. Each bite her daughters took reminded her that they ate because of him. Every smile they gave was bound to the bargain she had made. The mother forced herself to speak. "Why do you feed them?" she asked, her voice sharper than she meant. "Why give so much when you already claimed me?" The human looked at her for a long moment. His answer was quiet. "Because they are children," he said no more. As if the words were enough, but for her they were not enough. Her people did not believe in kindness without reason. Nothing was free, every gift had a hidden cost. And this man had bought her very soul. Her daughters chewed happily, unaware of the storm twisting in their mother's heart. One of them looked up, mouth full. "Mama, he is kind," she said. "He gave us food. He saved us." The words struck her like knives. She wanted to agree, she wanted to believe. But her memories whispered back. Men promised safety before, men promised kindness before. All ended in pain later that day. The mother ventured outside for water. The market was still noisy, filled with cruel laughter and sharp eyes. She carried the jug carefully, ignoring the whispers that followed her. "There goes the one who sold her soul," someone muttered. "The human's toy," another sneered. She gritted her teeth, shame burning her face when she returned. Her daughters were playing near the doorway. The human was inside, fixing something on the table. He looked up as she entered, but said nothing. That silence haunted her. It was not the silence of cruelty nor the silence of pity. It was the silence of someone who saw too much. The silence of someone waiting that night. The girls slept with full bellies again, curled close under a thin blanket. The mother lay awake, staring at the lantern's glow. She thought of her daughter's laughter. She thought of the human's steady eyes. She thought of the contract she could not see but felt heavy around her neck. At last she rose and stood before him. He was awake as if he had expected her. She whispered harshly, "Tell me the truth. What do you want from me? You bought me. You claimed my soul. Why not take what you wish?" The human studied her, his face unreadable. Finally, he said, "Because I am not like them." The word stung. She wanted to laugh, to curse, to call him a liar. But her throat closed. He had fed her daughters. He had sheltered them. He had touched nothing, demanded nothing. The cruelest part was that he acted as if her soul was not a burden, but a promise. The mother's eyes filled with tears. "I cannot trust you," she whispered, "but I cannot leave you either." The human nodded, as if he understood. "Trust takes time," he said. The mother returned to her daughters lying beside them. Their small hands clutched hers even in sleep. She closed her eyes, but her heart raced. Somewhere deep inside, a new fear had taken root. Not the fear of cruelty, not the fear of hunger, but the fear of hope. And that was more dangerous than anything. The market never slept. Even when the sun dipped low and shadows stretched long across the stone alleys, there were always voices, always whispers. The alien mother knew this. She had lived among those whispers for years, but now the whispers were about her. "She sold her soul," one voice hissed in the corner. "And the human bought it," another replied. "But he does nothing with it." The laughter that followed was cruel, sharp. It cut her like a blade each time she passed. Her daughters heard it too, but they were too young to understand. They clung to her arms, trusting her to protect them. The mother's steps grew faster. Every stare felt heavier. Every corner hid eyes watching. The market was not a place of kindness. It was a place where weakness was prey, and she had shown the deepest weakness of all. At night, when the girls slept, she heard more. The neighbors whispering through broken walls, plotting like hyenas circling prey. He bought her but does not touch her. He wastes food on them. Then he is weak. Weak men lose quickly. They say he keeps food hidden. Maybe even weapons. Her hands tightened around the thin blanket. Her daughters curled against her side. She wanted to wake the human, warn him. But a voice in her mind said, "No, he is human, he already knows." And she was right. The next evening, as she returned with water, she found him sitting quietly outside the small building. His eyes scanned the shadows, calm, steady. His hand rested on a blade at his side. He did not speak, but when she stepped close, he said softly, "They are talking." "I hear it too," her breath caught. "What will they do?" She whispered. He looked at her, his face unreadable. "They will come not for you. For the girls, children are valuable here. More valuable than souls." Her chest tightened. Her arms wrapped around her daughters as if she could hide them from the world. Her heart screamed with fear. She had already lost everything once. She could not lose them too. "Run?" she asked, desperate. "Should we run?" The human shook his head. "They will chase you. You will not last a day outside the market. Not with them hunting you." His words struck deep. Her eyes burned. She wanted to shout at him, to call him a liar. But she knew he was right. She had seen it before, mothers running, children taken. The hunters always won that night. The tension grew heavier. The lantern flickered weakly. The daughters slept, innocent and warm. The mother sat awake, her eyes wide with fear. She turned to the human, who sat as always, sharpening his blade. "Why help us?" she asked, her voice breaking. "Why fight for us? I gave you my soul. You could take everything and leave us to die. Why risk yourself?" The human paused. His knife stopped against the whetstone. He looked at her in silence for a long time before answering. "Because they think souls are chains, but I think souls are wings." She stared at him, not understanding. His words were strange, but they sank into her chest like seeds buried deep. The next day, whispers became louder, bolder. "They will be taken soon," one alien muttered. "The human is strange, but even he cannot fight everyone." Others grinned with hunger in their eyes. Waiting, circling, the mother walked faster, gripping her daughter's hand so tightly they cried. The human walked beside them, calm as ever. His silence was more frightening than the threats. That night she finally broke. She stood before him, trembling. "Please take us away, hide us. I will do anything you ask, just don't let them take my children." The human looked at her with steady eyes. His voice was firm but quiet. "Stay close to me, and they will not dare." Her legs weakened. She wanted to collapse. She wanted to believe him. But how could one man stand against the hunger of a market filled with predators? And yet when she looked at his face, she saw no doubt. His calm was like a wall. His silence like armor. He was not boasting. He was not lying. He was promising. The mother wept silently that night, holding her daughters close. In her heart she feared the coming storm, but a small dangerous spark of hope flickered inside her. For the first time, she began to wonder if this strange human was not her captor but her shield. The storm came 2 nights later. The mother woke to the sound of footsteps outside. Heavy and many, the girls stirred. Clutching her arms, fear ran like fire in her veins. She looked at the human. He was already awake, standing at the doorway with his blade in hand, his eyes calm, his body still. Voices hissed through the cracks in the wall. "Cruel and sharp, give us the children," one said. "The human cannot protect them. He is only one man." Another laughed. The mother's chest tightened. She pressed her daughters behind her, trembling. But the human stepped forward into the doorway, blocking the entrance with his body. "You will not touch them." His voice was low, steady. It carried like steel through the night. The voices outside snarled, mocking. "She sold her soul. She is ours to claim. You cannot keep her, human." The human's grip on the blade did not falter. "She gave me her soul, and I will guard it." "You will not pass." Silence followed. Then the sound of retreating footsteps. The predators slipped back into the shadows. Not ready for a fight, the mother collapsed to her knees. Clutching her daughters, tears filled her eyes. Her breath came in shudders. He had faced them down with only his voice. He had stood alone against many, and they had feared him. Later, when the girls finally slept again, she sat across from him, her eyes red, her body weak. She whispered, "Why? Why do this? Why fight for me, for them? You could walk away and no one would stop you. Why carry my burden?" The human was silent for a long time. His blade lay across his knees. His eyes stared at the dim lantern flame. At last he spoke. His voice low, heavy, "Because once, I failed." The mother frowned, confused. "Failed?" He nodded slowly. His jaw tightened. His eyes did not meet hers. "There was a war far from here. My home burned, my wife, my daughter." His voice cracked, but only for a breath. "I could not save them. I was too slow, too weak. They died hungry, afraid. And I swore never again." The mother's breath caught. Her heart twisted painfully. She stared at him in silence. His story was not shouted like the boasts of other men. It was carved into his voice, each word carrying the weight of grief. He looked at her finally, his eyes dark but steady. "When I saw you in the market with your children at your side, I saw them, I saw what I lost, and I could not let it happen again, not to you, not to them." Tears blurred her vision. She covered her mouth, trembling. She had thought he was strange, dangerous, unpredictable, but now she saw something deeper. He was not dangerous because of cruelty. He was dangerous because of loss. Her voice broke as she whispered, "And so you bought me, to save them?" He nodded. "I used the only language the market understands. A bargain, they would not listen to mercy. They would only listen to a deal, so I gave them one." The mother bowed her head. Her hands shook as she gripped her knees. All her life she believed kindness was weakness. Mercy was a mask for cruelty. But this man had turned the cruelest deal into a shield. The silence between them grew heavy. The lantern flickered outside. The market still breathed with whispers. But inside that small room another truth had taken root. At last the mother whispered, "You carry my soul, but you carry your pain too. We are both broken." The human's eyes softened. For the first time, a shadow of a smile touched his lips. "Then let us keep each other standing." Her tears fell freely. She covered her face. The weight of despair she had carried for so long began to crack. Not from cruelty, but from something more terrifying. Hope. That night she lay beside her daughters, listening to their soft breaths. Her eyes remained fixed on the human, who sat awake guarding the door. His blade rested across his knees. His grief rested across his heart, and in that moment she understood. He had not bought her soul to own her. He had taken it so she and her children could live. But the market would not forgive such defiance, and she knew the storm was far from over. The market had waited long enough. By the third night, the whispers turned into footsteps, heavy and many. The mother felt it in her bones before she heard it. The air itself grew tense like a storm before lightning. Her daughters clung to her, their wide eyes fixed on the door. Outside voices rose, no longer whispers but snarls. "Bring out the children." "The human cannot keep them, not from all of us." She froze, her arms tightening around the girls. Her heart pounded so hard it hurt. She looked at the human. He was already standing, calm as ever, blade in hand. His eyes held no fear, only a steady fire. The door rattled as fists pounded against it. The wood cracked, splinters falling to the floor. The mother cried out, pulling her daughters back. "They will break in." The human's voice cut through her panic, deep and firm. "Stay behind me. Do not move." The door burst open, shadows poured inside. Alien figures with sharp teeth and cruel eyes crowded the entrance. Their laughter was ugly. "There he is," one growled. "The fool who thinks he can keep them." The human stepped forward, his body filling the doorway. His blade gleamed in the lantern's glow. "You will not touch them," he said quietly. The crowd roared with laughter. One human against many? Another sneered, "You will die slow," but they did not know humans. The first rushed at him, claws raised. The human moved like water. His blade flashed, and the attacker fell, blood staining the floor. The room filled with screams and chaos. The mother gasped, covering her daughter's eyes. But she could not look away. The human fought with terrifying precision. Each strike was clean, each movement controlled. He did not waste a single step. More rushed him, snarling, his blade cut through them. His fists struck like stone. The market predators had thought him prey, but now they saw a predator greater than themselves. One tried to slip past him toward the girls. The mother screamed, but the human was faster. He grabbed the alien by the throat and hurled him against the wall. The crack of bone echoed in the room. The attackers faltered, fear seeping into their eyes. "He's not weak," one hissed. "He's a monster." The human stood tall, blood dripping from his blade. His voice thundered. "I warned you, these children are not yours. She is not yours. None of you own them." The mother trembled. Tears blurred her vision. For the first time, she saw not only a protector, but a force the market could not break. The leader of the gang stepped forward. Taller and stronger than the rest, his voice was full of hate. "You cannot keep her. She sold her soul. It belongs to the market. It belongs to us." The human's jaw tightened. His eyes burned like fire. He pulled something from his pocket, a torn piece of parchment, the crude contract she had signed with shaking hands. He held it high, then ripped it apart before all their eyes. The pieces fell like ash to the floor. "Her soul belongs to no one," he roared. "Not to you, not to me, not to this cursed market. She is free." The mother gasped, her hands covering her mouth. Her daughters clung to her, whispering, "Mama." Look, the gang leader screamed in rage and charged. The fight was brutal, steel against claw, blood against blood, but the human's fury was stronger. His blade struck true and the leader fell. Silence crashing over the room. The others froze. Fear replaced greed. None dared move, none dared speak. Slowly, one by one, they backed away, dragging their wounded, their whispers no longer cruel but fearful. He freed her. One muttered, "No one frees a soul in the market." The human stood in the doorway, chest rising with heavy breaths. His blade dripped red. His eyes scanned the shadows, daring anyone else to come, but no one did. At last he lowered the weapon. Turning back to the mother, she knelt on the floor shaking, tears streaming down her face. The torn contract lay scattered between them. "You freed me," she whispered. I thought you owned me." The human's voice softened. "No one owns you, you only believed they did." She wept openly now. Her daughters clung to her, whispering her name. Her chains, those invisible ones made of fear and shame, had been broken. The human knelt before her, his bloody hands resting on his knees. His eyes softened. "You were never a slave. You were only hungry, only desperate, but now, you are free." The mother's tears fell onto the broken parchment. And for the first time in years, she felt the weight lift from her chest. But freedom in a cruel world was never safe. And as dawn crept over the market, she knew their story was not over, because hope once given had to be defended. The market woke to silence. Blood stained the stones near the human's door. Whispers carried through the alleys, not of mockery this time, but of fear. The predators who had once laughed now spoke in hushed voices. The human fought them all. He broke the contract. He freed her. Inside, the mother sat on the floor, her daughters clinging to her. Their small hands shook, but their eyes were bright. They had seen violence, but they had also seen something greater, someone who stood for them when no one else did. The human cleaned his blade quietly, his face calm, his body steady, as if the fight had not happened, but his eyes, deep and dark, carried a heavy weight. The mother watched him, her chest tight with emotions she could not name. At last she whispered, "You tore the contract. You gave back my soul, why?" The human paused, then looked at her. His voice was low, steady. "Because it was never mine to keep, you thought you sold it. But souls cannot be sold, only given freely, and yours was never meant for chains." Her tears fell again, but softer now, not of despair but of release. For so long, she had believed she was worthless, that her body, her spirit, even her dignity had a price. But he had shattered that lie with a single act. Her daughters climbed into her lap, whispering, "Mama, we are safe. He saved us." The human's eyes softened as he looked at them. His jaw clenched as if he was holding back the flood of memory. His wife, his daughter, the family he lost. The mother saw it in his face and realized he had not only saved them, he had saved himself. The next days passed quietly. The market no longer mocked. They no longer dared to threaten. But the silence was not safety, it was fear. And fear always waits for a chance to strike again. The mother worked to keep her daughters hidden, busy, fed. She cooked simple meals with what little they had. She cleaned the small shelter. She tried to act like life was normal. But every night when the lantern dimmed, she looked at the human. She saw him sit awake, guarding his blade never far, his grief never leaving his eyes, and slowly, she began to understand what he had truly bought in that market. Not her body, not her soul, but a chance to carry his vow. One evening, when the children slept, she sat across from him. Her voice was soft, trembling but firm. "You said once you failed your family, that you could not save them, but you saved mine. You saved me." The human shook his head. "It will never erase what I lost." She leaned forward, her silver eyes wet with tears. "No, but it gives meaning to what you carry. You thought you held my soul as a chain, but you returned it to me stronger than before." He looked at her, truly looked, and for the first time he did not see only the starving mother in the market. He saw a woman who had survived cruelty, a woman whose spirit refused to die. She was no longer a shadow. She was light breaking through cracks. The silence stretched between them, heavy but warm. Then she whispered, "If a soul can be given freely, then take mine now. Not for food, not for chains, but because I choose." The human's chest tightened. His eyes burned with emotion. He did not reach for her. He did not bind her, he only nodded, his voice deep, trembling. Then I will guard it until my last breath. Her tears spilled as she pressed her forehead to the ground, not in shame but in gratitude in the market where she had sold her soul in despair. The same soul had been returned with honor. Her daughters stirred in their sleep, one whispering, "Mama, safe?" The mother gathered them close, whispering back, "Yes, my loves, we are safe." The human rose, standing watch at the doorway, his figure cast long against the lantern light. Outside the market still waited, still whispered, but inside, something stronger than fear now lived. The galaxy was cruel, the market was unforgiving, but one human had shown that kindness could be sharper than any blade. And in the quiet of that night, the alien mother finally believed in something she thought was gone forever: hope.